1997, Moby looked like an artist whose career was almost over. Only a few years earlier, he had been one of electronic music's most recognizable underground names. But his album Animal Rights replaced much of his dance sound with punk and heavy guitars. The result confused many fans, sold poorly and left him performing for tiny audiences. He lost his American record label support and began seriously considering walking away from music. Then his personal life collapsed too. In 1997, Moby's mother died of cancer. She had raised him largely on her own, and their relationship had been close but complicated. Years later, Moby admitted something he still found difficult to face: he had been drinking so heavily that he slept through her funeral. Only weeks after losing her, he began working on the album that would become Play. He recorded it inside his small apartment on Mott Street in Manhattan. There was no enormous studio, no army of producers, and no expectation that he was creating a future classic. Moby believed this might be his final record, a last attempt before abandoning his music career. The album's most important inspiration came from a collection of old American field recordings gathered by music historian Alan Lomax. These recordings preserved voices from gospel, blues, and folk traditions, many of them captured decades earlier in churches, homes, and rural communities. Moby took fragments of those voices and placed them inside modern electronic music. Honey used the voice of Bessie Jones. Natural Blues was built around Vera Hall's singing Trouble So Hard. Find My Baby sampled blues singer Boy Blue. Instead of treating the voices as decoration, Moby made them the emotional center of the music, surrounding them with drum machines, piano, strings, synthesizers, and atmospheric sounds. Other songs, including Porcelain and Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad, sounded quiet, lonely, and strangely intimate. Play blended old gospel and blues recordings with electronic beats, creating music that sounded historical and futuristic at the same time. But almost nobody in the music industry believed in it. Moby later said the album was rejected by record company after record company. Eventually, V2 agreed to release it in the United States, while Mute handled it internationally. Even then, expectations were low. Moby believed that selling approximately 200,000 copies worldwide would represent the album's absolute limit. Play was released on May 17, 1999. At first, it appeared that the record companies had been right. The album received little radio support and did not immediately become a major success. It could easily have disappeared. But Moby and his management found another way to make people hear it. They licensed the music for films, television programs, and advertisements. Eventually, every one of the album's 18 tracks was licensed somewhere. Some appeared in major commercials and Hollywood films. Others were used by small independent productions and non-profit organizations. The decision attracted criticism from people who accused Moby of selling out, but the strategy worked. Listeners began hearing Porcelain, Natural Blues, Honey, and Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad everywhere. Sometimes without even knowing the artist's name. The album slowly grew instead of exploding overnight. Month after month, its songs entered public consciousness through cinema screens, television programs, and advertising campaigns. Play eventually sold around 12 million copies worldwide and became one of the most successful electronic albums ever released. Moby went from performing in nearly empty rooms to becoming an international star. The album he believed might end his career instead transformed it. But there is a darker side to the story. Success did not repair the grief, guilt, and insecurity that existed before Play. Moby later described the years following his sudden fame as a period of heavy drinking, drug use, and emotional collapse. He had achieved almost everything he thought he wanted, but still felt completely empty. That is what makes Play more than a simple success story. It was created by an artist who believed he had failed, only weeks after losing the person who had shaped his life. It was rejected by much of the music industry, largely ignored when it first appeared, and then rescued through an unusual licensing strategy that changed how an album could reach its audience. Play did not arrive when Moby's life was going well. It arrived when his career seemed finished, his mother was gone and he was preparing to say goodbye to music. Instead, it became the album that made the entire world listen.